Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to review one of the best books out there for dry fire. If anything, it's really a dry fire manual. And that book is Refinement and Repetition, Dry Fire Drills for Dramatic Improvement by Steve Anderson. It is the first of 3 books that he has done for dry fire. And I call it a manual because it pretty much lays out what you need to do as a shooter, whether that is on the competitive side or if you're a defensive shooter and you simply want to get better. As we all know, and especially as Steve preaches, anything you do on the range, you can do in the comfort of your own home for free and still see a dramatic improvement in your shooting ability. So let's crack open this book and talk about some of the things that you can expect to do, learn, and discover about yourself. Alrighty, let's crack this bad boy open and go through it. Alright, I'll try not to bore you guys too much. We'll make it quick and dirty. So obviously your typical stuff, your dedication, table of contents, yada yada, forward, blah blah blah. Of course, this is where Steve introduces himself as a grandmaster and how he got there. Precautions, this is where he even goes into detail about dry fire safety. Take a look at this channel. I will be doing a dry fire safety vid and tools to use for dry fire at a later date. Take a look at the channel and keep an eye on for that. So of course your preparations. So let's go on and on and on. Let's go back. Oh, progressions. So remember, you are training your body to react to your vision. You see here, I like to highlight. You may see some notes in the column, highlights, things like that. So hopefully you guys are doing the same thing, peeking these things out. So obviously read through all of these things. Fantastic, easy reading. Remember, this is a manual. This is an action book, not necessarily a reading book. But I do want to go over this part. Obviously, take a look at those drills there. Drills 1 through 14 are your core classifier skills. So obviously, if you're a USPSA shooter and you're trying to get good classifiers, these are the drills you need to be doing religiously. I would suggest doing them twice a day. First time as prescribed. The second time you need to add in some type of variable. Either add in some type of movement, increase or decrease your distance, something like that. If you want to see true dramatic improvement in your dry fire, 1, start with this book and especially these drills. Number 2, do them twice a day. I promise your skill level will explode. Drills 15 through 27 are match skill drills. Now, what that means is, if you guys are newer to competition, if you do those drills 15 through 27, those are the skills that you will see in pretty much any match. Even a national level match is pretty much just a bigger local match. So partials, 25-yard partials, things like that, you are pretty much going to see them in drills 15 through 27. And then obviously drills 28 through 38 are simulated plate rack drills. So I love me some plate rack. Get you some cardboard plate rack and go through those, because those are the skills that are really going to get your eyes moving and get you used to calling your shots. Of course, if you're a steel challenge shooter, it's really going to help with that also. So you can see here, it's a pretty comprehensive book. Pretty much covers everything you could think of all your skills for dry fire, whether you're a competitive and again a defensive shooter. So talks about the techniques of everything, your turn and draw, multiple shots, cadence, as you can see there. Let's get into the drills. So, core classifier skills. Let's talk about this drill number 1, something that Steve has talked about if you're not listening to his podcast. Number 1, sight picture confirmation. Alright, as you can see there's a ton of reps there. If you add them up, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 reps of just the draw. Steve will tell you, stop doing that, because you will start counting your reps. That is the conscious thing that you are thinking of, instead of being conscious with what you're doing, whether that's the front sight, establishing good grip, trigger press, whatever. What you need to do is set a timer on your phone. 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes. I would suggest you stay between 2 and 3 minutes, because remember, you've got 14 of these bad boys to go through. And trust me, after drill 14, you're smoked. You're going to want to be done and go grab a beer. Now, moving on to that part is goals. If you look at his goals, he's got it doable down to 0.6 on the regular. Now, keep in mind, guys, it's a good thing that he's got the goals, something that you can shoot for. And that is for an open grandmaster level shooter. So don't think that you're a sharpshooter in IDPA or a D or C class shooter in USPSA and think you're just going to set your par time to 6 and beat it. Probably not going to happen. Just remember, you're here to do the work. Performance over outcome. We'll get into that later. So as you can see here, now moving on to this next part, has the drill still listed over here, your dry fire baseline par times, and of course, if you take this book to the range, you can go live fire. Personally, I don't like doing that because I shoot in all weather, and it's South Carolina, it's hot as hell. So therefore, I don't want to sweat all over my book. So what I generally do is I write my times down into another pad, and if I need to, I transfer them over to a computer or a nicer pad. Now, one thing I don't like right here in all of the drills, Steve generally says you should be testing yourself obviously every time, but you should be writing down your par times every couple of weeks. I obviously haven't done that. I look at it as like an athlete. Say you're trying to get your deadlift up. You don't max out deadlift every week, every 2 weeks, what have you. What you do is you put the time in, and then you only max out every so often. I think that if you're meeting your par time and or slightly exceeding it every time, and you know you're slightly exceeding it, then you're doing well. You don't need to test your time, because that turns into, again, a conscious aspect. You're trying to consciously test and beat that time every single time versus doing the skill correctly, where you're worried about, oh no, I have a test in 2 weeks, I need to be ready for that test, oh God, I need to be ready for that test, instead of just saying, you know what, I'm here to do the work. So pretty simple thing there. Love that aspect of it. Obviously, if you go to andersonshooting.com, you can print out more of these sheets if you are that guy that wants to write down your time every time, and you can fill them out from there. So just moving on, goes pretty much there. You don't even pull the trigger from skills 1 through 8, or excuse me, 7. So let's flip all the way through there, because 7, as you can see here, is the always awesome Burkett reloads. Again, look at all those reps there. That's a lot of reps. Trust me, you're going to get close to that many reps if you're doing 2 to 3 minutes and you're set up correctly, where you're not dropping your mags all the way down the floor. You're going to get a lot of reps in at 2 to 3 minutes. So again, just set a timer, don't do those, go from there. Of course, my little notes there, C means I'm doing this stuff from concealment with those times, and going from there. So we'll talk about the skills from that later, or if you listen to Steve's podcast, you'll figure out what you need to look at with your mag well. So going from 7, from 1 through 7, you do not touch your trigger at all, which is awesome because you're trying to get after your front sight. However, bam, the venerable 6 or reload 6. This is pretty much a staple in some way, shape, or form in USPSA. So this is where you're going to start, basically engage 222, reload 222. As you can see here, not that many reps. You'll probably get just as many, if not more reps in with you setting a timer on your phone, not worrying about it, and then just going without a par time. Or excuse me, without counting the reps. Not necessarily not using a par time. You still want to use your timer, but the timer on your phone, 2 to 3 minutes. So right there, start with a goal of 5 seconds. That's still pretty stout depending on where you're coming from. Honestly, if you're a B-class shooter, that's very doable. Very doable. And going from there. Of course, typical sheet, and on and on and on. It's pretty neat. So this is where you do start pressing the trigger, and however you choose to press the trigger, whether you do the zip tie technique like on a Glock, or just a dead trigger, or you just let the trigger out slightly if you're using a traditional double action like a CZ or Beretta. So pretty standard stuff. That's how everything is set up. Just different drills. Here's just a random drill at 17. And then as you can see here, let's get to your plate transitions, and this is pretty neat because he does all kinds of stuff. It's not just draw to one plate. It's, you might go like here, it's 1, 6, 2, 5, as you can see there, in that exact order. He does all kinds of crazy stuff to get you moving, get your eyes moving specifically, not just a gun. So it's pretty standard, pretty straightforward. L plate Zente, you can turn and draw on your plates, things like that. I turned all the way to the back. Of course, there's some more blank pages for you can fill in, especially as we all do, right? You're going to fill in your favorite drill there and just work your favorite drill, right? Yeah, that's what we always do, but hey, it's blank space for you to do it. And of course, to the back, you've got your index of what you want to work on, your various type of drills. And that's pretty much it, guys. It's just a manual, if you see that, all the way through here, from the opening page all the way to drill 1. I mean, there's not that much reading at all in this book, and that's including your table of contents, your dedication, blah, blah, blah. So that is it. Do the work, do the drills. This book has changed the way that I not only dry fire and do the work, but the way that I think and see dry fire. It is fantastic. Even if you're doing these drills 3, maybe 4 days a week, maybe 10-15 minutes at a time, you will get better. Cannot recommend it enough. By the way, if you go to andersonshooting.com, the book